Welcome to the Way of the Dad podcast, where we fearlessly dive into the depths of dadness. If you like what you are hearing, please share the podcast and give it a review on the platform where you listen. Thank you. Episode 4. Why James Bond being British and male is not actually the problem. Hey everybody, welcome back. Glad to have you here. So, this one was, well, really wasn't the plan. But for whatever reason, this topic really just hit the top of my thought process. Of course, the most recent Bond movie, No Time to Die, recently debuted and premiered and, of course, to a lot of fanfare. And another big reason is that it was, it was supposed to come out a lot earlier than it did. We all know how the pandemic affected things and put everything back and put a lot of movies on ice, on the shelf, so to speak, until things changed enough where they could release it and, try to release it to at least a reasonable box office amount. Of course, the problem is if you do any actual digging into it, the longer a movie sits on the shelf, the more money it actually has to make back, which is kind of strange. But what I keep seeing, of course, with the events of No Time to Die looming rather large, and if you have not seen that, I do not intend to spoil it. It is still fairly recent. Of course, everybody knows this is Daniel Craig's last James Bond movie, his final outing, as it were. And of course, that leaves rampant speculation as to who's going to pick up the mantle going forward. And it's interesting because, of course, in today's day and age, we like to declare that it's time to move on, or it's time for a change, or it's time to go in a new direction and to go into a bold new direction, or something along those lines. You see those quotes all the time. But I 100% disagree as it relates to James Bond and other characters that are extraordinarily definable by their gender and background and ethnicity. Not all characters are, by the way. Not all movie or TV show or book characters are extremely well defined. But James Bond is not one of those characters. I have enjoyed virtually all the James Bond movies. I think I have missed maybe one, only because it has been elusive in being able to stream it. I've been able to watch most of the old James Bond movies on Pluto TV. Do love that James Bond channel on there. When I just want to put something on that's fairly mindless and just veg out, I'll just pop on the James Bond channel on Pluto TV and watch the same extremely repetitive commercials over and over and over and over again on what seems to be a constant repeat, but I'll tolerate it because I love watching all the old James Bond movies. Now, anybody who's watched most or all of the James Bond movies knows that obviously a lot of the Connery and Moore movies, even the George Lazenby one, you could say that they haven't aged well, but I disagree with that premise because they don't need to age. They are literally a product of their time. And to go into something expecting something made in the 60s or 70s to be palatable by today's standards, so to speak, and that there's air quotes there, is ridiculous. That would be like looking at a movie from, take the original Tron, for example, going into that, watching it, and expecting the CGI to be anywhere near the sequel nearly 3 decades later, Tron Legacy. If you did that, you'd be stupid. And if you complained to anybody verbally, out loud, went out and actually complained to any of your friends and said, man, I don't know why that Tron movie's graphics were so terrible. That's ridiculous. They would look at you like you have another ear growing on your forehead and suggest you go get help. When you watch the old Bond movies, are there lots of things in there that definitely wouldn't fly today? Absolutely. Absolutely. Does it mean you should be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing and great? No. There's a reason why it doesn't fly today. But I can appreciate them for what they are and what they were as a product of their time. I'll definitely get into this in another one. I've got some notes written down for this one about history. And history being important because you have to understand the context of that history. Meaning you have to understand that the time that you're in and how people thought and acted at that time. Such is the same with movies. You can't put present-day sensibilities on movies made 40, 50 years ago. It's just not going to work, and you're going to be disappointed, and it will be 100% your fault. I enjoy older movies sometimes, but I enjoy them almost in spite of what would be flaws now, because I just understand that that's how it was back then. And it also helps me to see how far we've come. But beyond that, James Bond is not just a movie character. You may or may not know, he was created by Ian Fleming, which if you've ever seen the intro to a Bond movie, it always says Ian Fleming's James Bond. It'll usually mention character created by Ian Fleming. But what you may or may not know is that Ian Fleming wrote books. Books about the character James Bond that he created, which some say were based on his experiences as a spy. Of course, I'm pretty sure they're not autobiographical, but they were based on his time as a spy. But James Bond is and always has been male and British. Period. Done. That's it. That being said, he has evolved as a character. Go back and watch don't watch the first Sean Connery James Bond, Dr. No. It's a little on the rougher side, and the character was still being a little fleshed out. But you watch some of the ones after that, and then watch even a Pierce Brosnan, a Daniel Craig movie. And if you can't tell that the character has evolved, I would suggest maybe you need to go get your eyes checked. And your ears while you're at it, because you're obviously not hearing it. The character's evolved a lot over the years. I'd say through the vast majority of the Connery and Moore years, and in that is the Lazenby single movie, because he was very much, almost seemed like he was a little in the vein of a Connery and a Moore thing, but he very much fit into that time frame, that sensibility that was prevalent then. Those movies don't really feel a lot like definitely the Brosnan and the Craig era, but even to some extent the Dalton era. The Dalton era was very different, and it really pushed things in a direction that I would say, in retrospect, was a little too early for its time, which is why it didn't really come back until the Craig era. But if you watch an old movie next to one of the newer ones, you'll see that Bond has evolved. I'm not saying perfectly, but he's evolved from an absolute womanizer and chauvinist and all of those things to someone who is a lot less careless, I'll put it that way. Although, in some of the newer movies, especially the Craig movies, when he's been a bit of a womanizer or a chauvinist, it's been very well explained why. Because of how hurt he's been. How much he's been traumatized by women. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just saying that's what they obviously chose to go with. Whereas before, he was just a chauvinist. He was just a womanizer. And women were just disposable objects. And there was almost a formula. He was going to sleep with the bad girl, and then he was going to eventually sleep with the good girl. But they were both... It was like a formula. And it was going to happen, and everybody knew it. But for me, things really changed in at least a relatively notable way around The Living Daylights, which was the second and last, unfortunately, the last Dalton movie. And when I say it changed in the way that I noticed that the way they were treating women was changing. The way Bond was treating women was changing. And that at least if he was being a chauvinist pig or a womanizer or whatever, there was at least a level of an explanation. There was at least an awareness of what they were doing, and they realized, hey, we probably need to write this a little better and explain it a little better. And then, of course, that progressed in the Brosnan era. Now, the Brosnan era was not without its issues. It definitely had some cheesiness being key among them. Or should I say, increasing cheesiness. GoldenEye was fantastic, and then it kind of just kept going farther off the rails with each subsequent movie. And not that Brosnan didn't try to... It's almost like Brosnan's era tried to find the happy medium between the Sean Connery Bond and the Roger Moore Bond, but never quite figured it out, really. But as far as the women go, they weren't quite the throwaway disposable characters they used to be. Now, sure, there were still some damsels in distress, and Pierce Brosnan's Bond was still a bit of a womanizer. But it was different. I mean, you've got Michelle Yeoh, Halle Berry, just as two very obvious ones that stuck out in a very different way because they were actually presented as equals, not damsels in distress to be saved. You have Carrie Lowell's character from The Living Daylights, Pam Bouvier, and she was one of the first ones I remember seeing presented as a bit of an equal. Like I said, through Brosnan, you had Michelle Yeoh and Halle Berry stick out as notable in that. And then, of course, it evolved even further in the Daniel Craig era. You've got Olga Kurylenko as Camille, Ana de Armas, and Lashana Lynch in the most recent one, No Time to Die. And Eva Green was absolutely captivating in Casino Royale, the first Craig movie. So, what bothers me about all this conversation of making James Bond female or quote-unquote Jane Bond, or even sometimes people put it out there, and I don't know how serious it is or how seriously it's taken, but people even suggesting that The Rock or Ryan Reynolds play Bond. And I'm sorry, please just stop. You're beclowning yourself. Please stop. Get help. I have a problem with that because the character is British and male. Has been, always was written that way. But James Bond being British and male is not the problem. I don't want James Bond to be anything other than male and British. Because that's what he is. However, that doesn't mean for even a half a second that I have a problem with strong female characters or other characters, or some, an American spy in there or whatever, but they're not James Bond. I thoroughly enjoyed Jeffrey Wright's portrayal of Felix Leiter throughout the Craig movies. You could have got me to watch a Felix Leiter movie. I mean, provided the trailer was decent, but you could have gotten me into it. You could have gotten me to watch a Carrie Lowell movie playing Pam Bouvier. Michelle Yeoh playing Wai Lin, super secret agent. Now, in today's age, she would have been an agent for China, and that's not a real hot idea lately. God knows, China would never let that movie show in their country anyway. But even Halle Berry is Jinx, and this is the one. Here we go. I don't know if any of you all remember, but Halle Berry's character Jinx was even being talked about to star in her own movie. And there it is. The problem with the James Bond franchise is not James Bond. It is not 007. It is that it has never expanded beyond 007. There's been no reason to watch anything but 007. You think about how many times have we had a new Batman. And I love me some Batman. Man, I love some Batman. Get me some throwback Michael Keaton Batman? Oh yeah. Going back and watching all the Dark Knight trilogy with Christian Bale? Yes, absolutely. Sign me up. As imperfect as it was, I thoroughly enjoyed Ben Affleck's Batman. Especially in the Snyder cut of Justice League. I didn't even hate him in Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. I think it was better with the extended cut. And it wasn't a perfect Batman, but I enjoyed watching that Batman. This new movie, The Batman, with Robert Pattinson, well, based on the trailer, looks pretty damn good. Yeah, I'm probably going to go see that. It might be a hot mess, but I'm going to go find out. Back in the day, the Batman Forever movie with Val Kilmer, you could tell you could definitely tell the director and the art director definitely changed. And Val Kilmer was no Michael Keaton, but it wasn't a totally unwatchable movie. Unlike the Batman and Robin movie that we don't mention. Although I will say, the Batman and Robin movie with George Clooney, which was an absolute train wreck. If you view that movie in the vein of the old Adam West Batman, I'm not saying it makes it good. What I'm saying is it makes it at least more enjoyable. In a so bad it's good kind of way. It really is so bad it's good. But how many times have we had a new Batman? People keep showing up to watch it, and that's great. But Batman movies haven't been around nearly as long as James Bond. And James Bond doesn't have something that Batman has. It's called a universe. Did you know that Superman exists in the same universe Batman does? At least hypothetically, if not specifically. How about Green Arrow? How about The Flash? How about Wonder Woman? Because to be honest, until Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, you had never seen what DC refers to as the Holy Trinity on screen together. The only thing you had ever seen were individual Superman movies and individual Batman movies. And maybe, just maybe, you'd get the vaguest of references that the other existed somewhere. You damn sure didn't see them team up together and stand toe-to-toe against an interesting version of Doomsday. And by interesting, I mean interesting choices being made. But other than Felix Leiter and M and Q, which are all side characters, total side characters, they do not stand on the same level Bond does. They do not stand at the front of the movie. They stand behind Bond. Eve Moneypenny. Yes, we all know and love all these, and I'm sorry to be this way, but ancillary characters, because that's what they are. They are ancillary characters. They are characters there that have always been there throughout all of the decades to support Bond in his mission to go stop the end of the world, get the bad guy, whatever, right? But where's his equal? Where's his American counterpart? And look, and I said I would be interested in watching a Felix Leiter movie with Jeffrey Wright. Well, that was a while ago, back like when Casino Royale came out. But I wouldn't expect it to be a Bond movie. I'd expect it to be some other kind of hard-boiled type spy, gritty, underworld type thing. Not a globe-trotting, high-flying espionage extravaganza. It'd have to be a different kind of movie. But where is the 007 equivalent? Really? We've never seen it. Not in any way that ever mattered more than the one movie you heard about it or got a reference. They've always referenced other 00s, but you've never really seen them except for GoldenEye that I can think of. And that was Alec Trevelyan, and the only reason you saw him is because he was actually ended up being the bad guy. You could totally get me into a theater to watch Olga Kurylenko as Camille if they set her up correctly in Quantum of Solace. After watching No Time to Die, you could definitely, absolutely get me in the seat to watch Ana de Armas play Paloma in her own spy thriller. She occupied, 20 minutes of screen time? And she stole almost every minute right there with Bond. Looked absolutely right on par with him, despite the fact that she's significantly younger and much more of a rookie. I could watch that movie. You can make a case, you can make a business case for me to part with some of my hard-earned money to watch that movie. And it's not just because she's pretty. That's the problem with the old Bond movies. They were mostly just pretty. Ana de Armas is a legitimately good actress who can really carry scenes, and she's magnetic. And that equals dollars in Hollywood. Even Lashana Lynch, who plays, let's just say she's filled the vacuum that Bond created when he retired, which is the backstory. If you've watched any of the trailers for No Time to Die, you already know this. And she's maybe not too thrilled that he came back. But even her character, which I wasn't blown away by it, but they did enough to make me respect her character. And that it wasn't trampling all over the legacy of what had come before her, but it was building on it. And the way the movie ends, or the way her and Bond's characters go before the ending, you could, with a good trailer, get me interested enough to go watch it. But the problem with the Bond franchise is not James Bond. And it is not that he's British, and it's not that he's male. It's that the producers have never done anything to expand the franchise beyond 007 himself. This is a franchise that rests literally on this single set of shoulders of 007, of one British male character. So don't give me this James Bond needs to be female or needs to be something else or American or whatever. No. Give me a reason to watch other characters within the same universe. Give me a reason to watch a new character. Because if there's one thing people like, it's new. Not recycled. Not stolen. But new. And if you can actually get competent writers to write about a new character and introduce it right, you're going to have a gold mine. Or, well, you'll at least strike gold. I don't know how much will be I don't know how much gold will be there to mine, but you'll strike gold. How do you think the MCU got to be as big as it was? It took existing characters that it had already introduced, used them to help piggyback the introduction of other characters, and kept expanding. And like I said last time, the problem is right now, with Phase 4, they killed off too many of the original characters, and they're making the mistake of not using the ones that are still around to spearhead the next phase. They're trying to start up phase 4 with a whole bunch of new characters that don't have anywhere near the charisma, don't have anywhere near the writing, and trying to tell us that we're supposed to care. And maybe we will eventually. But instead of encouraging us to care and giving us reasons to care, they're really trying to shove it in our faces and say that we're supposed to care. Because it says Marvel at the top. That doesn't work. Not building an expanded 007-based universe isn't Bond's fault. It's the producer's fault. And if I want to be succinct, changing Bond's gender or birthplace will only serve to thoroughly hurt or maybe even kill the franchise and the mythos that it has created. Alright, well anyway, that's what I think about this, and this is something I've seen a lot of articles about, and I just wanted to kind of get that out as someone who, I can't sit here and say I grew up being a massive fond of James Bond from a wee little age or anything like that, but I've always liked the character, I've always liked the movies, and as I've gotten older, I've actually appreciated it more as I've explored the backstory and all the back catalog of movies. And so I'd like to see James Bond go on. I don't have a problem if it's someone of another ethnicity, but whoever it is, it needs to be British and male, because that's what the character of James Bond is. And if we want to have a really great female character in that universe, or a non-British character in that universe, that would be great, and I would welcome it with open arms. But you have to write it well, and you have to create it. Don't just steal something that's already there, because no one will respect it, and you'll only end up killing the franchise that you think is going to lay the golden egg. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and if you didn't, I'm sure you'll let me know. But I'm sure I'll have other things to talk about. Until next time, take care and have a great day. Thanks for listening. The Way of the Dad podcast is produced and recorded by, well, me, a stunningly average husband and father, who appreciates all of the likes, shares, reviews, and support you give. If you would like to reach out, you can find the podcast on its Facebook page, and of course you can email me at wayofthedadpodcast@gmail.com. Come back next time as we continue to fearlessly dive into the depths of dadness.